History has a way of repeating itself. For the second time in 3 years, it's the Pittsburgh Riverhounds welcoming Detroit City FC to Highmark Stadium in the USL Championship Playoffs. Happy to have you with us this evening on ESPN Plus, alongside MLS veteran Ricky Lopez-Espin. I'm Joe Malfa. Ricky, if you're a player on any of the remaining teams, you have to feel good about the way the bracket has opened up.
There is simply no favorite now in USL Championship, specifically for this Pittsburgh Riverhounds and Detroit City side. You're going to feel confident that you can really make a run at this thing and try to play for trophies, but you have to take care of the 90 minutes right in front of you.
Yeah, the reason things are so open is the 1 seed Lou City is gone because they lost to Detroit City last week. That sounds familiar. 2023, as I mentioned, these teams met in the conference quarterfinal, and it was the top seed Pittsburgh falling to Detroit City. Dominic Gasso got the goal that night. One player who wasn't a part of the happenings 2 years ago, who will be very impactful tonight, Ricky, is Jay Chapman.
Jay Chapman is just so influential of Detroit City and what they want to do on and off the ball. On the ball, he's cleaning possession. He keeps the game moving, and he has the ability to find that final ball in that final third. Off the ball, look for him to put out fires. Expect Jay Chapman to be a massive presence centrally, because last time out, last week at Lynn Family Stadium, it was exactly what you needed from a player of his quality and his leadership. Yes, he gets the assist on the game-winning goal for Devin Almumenta to get on the end of it, but everything he did off of the ball, Joe, was so impressive. This team has belief, this team is full of confidence, and expect a same performance here at Highmark Stadium.
Now, last week it was tight for Pittsburgh as well. There wasn't a goal in that game. They needed penalties to get through.
The Riverhounds did a really good job at just staying tuned in and staying composed through 120 minutes. They were the better side, and then it all came down to players standing up when the pressure is on. Eric Dick makes a massive save, and Sean Suber says thank you very much to Pittsburgh Riverhounds, especially when they play at home. They feel themselves and expect them again to be confident.
And tonight's player to watch, presented by Modelo, is Robbie Mertz, celebrating those with a fighting spirit, whose determination and skill truly embody the mark of a fighter.
Robbie Mertz is just a nightmare to defend. The spaces that he picks up in between lines, he can beat you 1v1, he can beat you through combination play. Expect everything going forward for the Riverhounds. Robbie Mertz is going to be a piece of it.
Well, history will be made tonight. Neither the Pittsburgh Riverhounds nor Detroit City FC have ever made it to the Eastern Conference Final. That changes 90 minutes or 120 minutes from now. It's Pittsburgh and Detroit City next on ESPN Plus.
Ain't no better feeling than a cold one in my hand. That's why I'll be keeping Iron City in my plans. Oh, everywhere I roam, I'll be thinking about my home. Sitting pouring on the iron right before I go to rest. And when I'm laying in my bed, there's only one thing in my head. Just an ice cold can of Pittsburgh, PA's best.
The search is over. The content you seek and crave is now all in one place. SportsNetPittsburgh.com. An all-new digital experience featuring news and exclusive content. Get the latest coverage on all Pittsburgh sports teams, plus stream live games through S&P 360 and so much more. SportsNetPittsburgh.com is the one-stop shop for the best in Pittsburgh sports. On your screen and in the palm of your hand. Check out SportsNetPittsburgh.com today. The search is over. The content you seek can be found all in one place. SportsNetPittsburgh.com, the destination for the latest news, extended team coverage, and exclusive content. Get the latest on all Pittsburgh sports teams. Plus, stream live games through S&P 360 and so much more. SportsNetPittsburgh.com is the one-stop shop for the best in Pittsburgh sports. On your screens and in the palm of your hand. Check out SportsNetPittsburgh.com today.
LaurelHighlands.com.
The black and yellow runs deep in this city. These fans are always amped for playoff action. It's Pittsburgh and Detroit City ready for action at Highmark Stadium. First, a look at the starting lineups presented by IC Light, and we begin with Pittsburgh.
Essentially, for Rob Vince, it's going to be really important for Bradley Sample and Danny Griffin just to dictate tempo and also understanding if they can slow the game down. They bait out Detroit, and that allows Barnes and Etsu to be really expansive, provide the width. It all comes down to Robbie Mertz playing centrally all as well to supply Augie Williams. That front three needs to have a massive game. First 10 to 15 minutes, getting them in a rhythm will be really important.
On the other side for Detroit City, it's once again Carlos Saldana in goal. He started last week for the first time in over a month.
This back line for Danny DQ is full of confidence. They're playing at a really high level. Amu Mensah, Brian Enching, we do a good job at staying compact and keeping everything in front of them. Ryan Williams and Jay Chapman were the two best players last time out. Expect them to have a similar performance, which will allow Diouf, Darren Smith, and Cedeno to be a little bit more aggressive at pushing the tempo higher up the field. Getting them involved early is going to be important as well for Danny DQ going forward.
Detroit City, the team that nobody expected to be here. They expected it. They relished in silencing that crowd at Lynn Family Stadium last week, and they are hoping to do the same thing again here at Highmark tonight. 2 years ago, it was 1-0 late winner for Detroit City in the postseason. These teams have met 3 times this year, a win apiece and a draw. It has been dead even, Ricky.
This game is going to be extremely cagey, so that winning that midfield battle for Rob Vincent and Danny DQ is always going to be important. Having the ability to play this game on your terms, first 10 minutes is going to tell us a lot about the mentality and the tactical matchups that we're going to see throughout this course of 90 minutes.
The referee in charge tonight is Natalie Simon. Danny Griffin with the ball in hand to get us on our way. Pittsburgh in their traditional black and yellow from left to right. Detroit City in their white and green from right to left. The Pittsburgh City skyline in the background beyond the Monongahela. We are ready for Eastern Conference semifinal action between the Riverhounds and Detroit City. Winner of this gets the winner of North Carolina and Rhode Island. That match kicked off a half an hour before ours. We'll keep you updated on the happenings there throughout the evening. And we're underway at Highmark Stadium. Glad to have you with us on ESPN Plus alongside Ricky Lopez-Espin. I'm Joe Malfa. Jitters were evident early last week for Pittsburgh. Hartford came in and actually put the ball in the net 90 seconds into the game. An offside flag bailed out this Pittsburgh team, and this Steel Army that was silenced briefly quickly had the chorus ring out again. They're hoping for a better start here tonight.
That is something that Rob Vincent mentioned in our conversation with him earlier this week. Joe said the first 15 minutes wasn't our best. We were very shaky. They did a better job once they settled in for the Riverhounds. So a strong start is going to be top priority for the home side.
Take a look at keys to the game tonight. Building a win is presented by 84 Lumber.
For this Pittsburgh Riverhound side, you have to have balance within your attacking phase of play, understanding when to play centrally and bait in that midfield trio for Detroit City, but also when to play wide with Etsu and Barnes. And for Danny DQ, it was very simple. You have to keep emotions intact. You cannot allow everything that goes on outside the white line to dictate your performance.
Take a look at the injury report presented by Allegheny Health Network, the official medical provider of the Pittsburgh Riverhounds. O'Toole and Vactor on the Pittsburgh side, a clean slate reported by Detroit City. Vactor's a big miss for Pittsburgh. It changes some things. We'll get there in a second. To the end line now, fed in front. Nobody there at the back door for Pittsburgh. The hustle from Perrin Barnes to keep it alive. Perrin Barnes, one of the players impacted by that Vactor injury tonight. Sample looks toward goal. It's saved by Saldana. That was eerily similar to the goal that Gasso scored 2 years ago through all the traffic.
A really good start for the Riverhounds, and it comes with the two outside backs being really expansive and really aggressive, which allows places space centrally. Bradley Sample doing a good job at just keeping this thing alive. And that's a good save from Saldana because there is a lot of traffic in front of him. Secure hands That's going to do a world of good for his confidence between the sticks.
Saldana, before last week, hadn't started since September 27th. No injury, just a competition all year between Carlos Saldana, the starter tonight, and Carlos Herrera, the backup for Detroit City, coming into this evening here. Those two went back and forth all season long, but Danny Dicchio has always felt he's had 2 1s rather than a 1 and a 2. It's Saldana who wins out now in the playoffs.
Especially with the save that he had at Lynn Family Stadium, one of, if not the best that I've seen in championship. You go with the hot hand, you go, especially with the form that this back line and goalkeeper Detroit City have been. It's a no-brainer for Danny Dicchio.
Michael Bryant, who you, Ricky, and I think July dubbed the best mustache in all of USL Championship. Still sporting it now in the playoffs.
Hasn't changed. Still the best in the league.
It's picked up by LaFleur. Big mid-season acquisition for Detroit City on loan from Philadelphia Union. Mensah brings it down, operating as the left center back tonight for Detroit City. His counterpart, the left center back on the Pittsburgh side. We expect it to be Guillaume Vactor. He went down with an injury last week against Hartford, had to be subbed off. We thought in the week leading up he'd be good to go. He's not. He's out tonight. So it's Luke Biasi, who was maybe the star of the game last week as the right wing back, moving inside as the left center back, and Perrin Barnes now the right wing back for Pittsburgh.
Luke Biasi was phenomenal, especially in the early parts of that Hartford Athletic game. The work rate on and off the ball, clean in possession, won his individual duels, a different type of role within this back three. He needs to stay compact. He needs to stay a little bit more connected with Suber, who will anchor that back line for the Riverhounds.
It's always interesting, too, how the dominoes fall when you have an injury like that. Luke Biasi is a right-footed player who tends to play on the right side, so you would have thought maybe they tuck him in at right center back and then move Beto Idrach over. No, instead they just put Biasi as a like-for-like with Vactor. There's 2 schools of thought there. If you do it the way they did it, you're only changing 2 positions. If you move Idrach over, now you're all of a sudden impacting 3 positions. So that's why Biasi has the left center back instead of the right center back tonight.
But also understanding the characteristics of a right footer playing the left-hand side. Now the game is going to come centrally because he's going to want to put the ball on his right foot. So the movement of Danny Griffin, Bradley Sample always need to supply options when Luke Biasi gets on the ball.
Eric Dick sends it long. Bryant. Mensah, last week's hero, the goal off the corner kick for Detroit City in the 1-0 win over Lou City. Diouf brought down. Rob Vincent, the acting head coach of the Pittsburgh Riverhounds, hasn't lost yet since he's been in charge. Former striker for Pittsburgh, and that striker's outlook has changed a little bit of the nuance in how they do things. More freedom to the wingbacks, more freedom to Danny Griffin to go ahead and get forward in the middle. Just a different mentality overall for Pittsburgh, and some of those decisions that have to be made always want some forward thinking rather than defensive minded.
A lot more of vertical movements is what we've seen from the Riverhounds when Rob Vincent is calling the shots. Charles All has been a lot more active in terms of his movement out of that deep line position. Makes life very difficult to track. There's just a sense of freedom and security going forward under Rob Vincent for the Riverhounds.
Head to physical start between these sides early on. Emily Simon will have her work cut out for her tonight. Danny Dicchio, second season at the helm for Detroit City, guiding them into the postseason, really against all odds. The way this season ended, they finished 1-4-2 over their final stretch of games. Within that, they didn't score much. They only had 4 goals scored in those 7 games, but the 2 draws they had the last 2 weeks of the season were enough ultimately to get them in. And then once you're in, anything can happen, as Louisville learned the hard way last week. To LaFleur, Mensah. Isaiah LaFleur, again, joined from Philadelphia Union on loan and missed a year because of a knee injury before he returned this past year for Philly and MLS Next Pro. Foul away from the play. Free kick coming for Detroit City as our first train of the night goes on in the background. Jesse Cedeno writhing in pain. Haven't seen a card produced yet.
As Luke Biasi is staying like for like with Cedeno, does seem like something off of the ball. Left side of your screen does seem like he just clips the heels of Cedeno. Cedeno clearly in some pain. Not what you want if you are Detroit City and Danny Dichio, especially with how this game sets up tactically. Cedeno, the spaces that he picks up, playing as a number 10 underneath Diouf and Smith, really important. Hopefully he's okay to continue on, but it's a really aggressive step from Biasi, and that's something that Rob Vincent's going to want from his three center backs, to stay like for like, especially when checking centrally, because you do not want to let your opposing player get on the half turn.
Well, there's no love lost between these teams. They've met, as we mentioned earlier, 3 times this season. Across the board, a win each and a draw. They met in regular season. They met in the Jägermeister Cup. So these two teams very familiar with each other.
Not a lot that separates both of these teams. These teams play very similarly like this Detroit City side. Once again, the ball, they want to be rumble and tough, especially at home. But here at Keyworth, this Riverhound side full of confidence. We have Robbie Mertz pulling the strings. Barnes gets on the end of it. It's always a really intense game. And that was something that Danny Dichio mentioned, saying we have to stay tuned in mentally. Do not let yourself get pulled into anything silly and leave your side at a disadvantage.
One thing to keep in mind, each of those 3 meetings came with Bob Lilly at the helm before acting head coach Rob Vincent stepped in. So some of those nuances we talked about earlier, Detroit City hasn't seen those nuances in person head-to-head yet. So there is still some adjusting to do. Cedeno looks like he's had the boot pulled off, and some players starting their warm-up a little bit early for Detroit City in case Cedeno cannot go. Instrumental to the creative portion of the midfield for Detroit City. Looks like he's going to be all right to continue once he gets the boot on.
And just the left side of your screen, a bit awkward here from Luke Biasi. Clips the heels, it seems like the Achilles area of Cedeno. A good sign if you are Danny Dichio and Detroit City as your number 10 back on his own power.
Just keep an eye on him these next few minutes to make sure he's all right. Kobe Hernandez Foster would be the imagined like-for-like change as the creative engine of the midfield. And it looks like he's making his way back to the bench now. No need to continue the warm-up. We'll say this. Referees have their scouting reports and their meetings coming into games. Jesse Cedeno has quite the reputation in this league as far as diving and embellishing. Not saying that was the case here, but as far as no card being presented and nothing further, you wonder if that is something that the referees undoubtedly will be keyed into coming into a game like this. You never had a reputation like that, Ricky.
Never. Extremely honest.
For that delay, back to it here in this first half. Scoreless through the opening 10. Scoreless through the opening 40 between North Carolina and Rhode Island at the moment. Winner of that game meets the winner of this game in the conference final next week. North Carolina, the highest remaining seed. Pittsburgh, the 4. Rhode Island, the 7. Detroit City, the 8. There's your pecking order as far as who hosts next week. Goes against Pittsburgh. Vincent looking on. It was Shane Wheat who was involved in that challenge. Their former member of the Riverhounds himself, Shane Wheat, was part of that 2022 team that got really close to making Pittsburgh's first ever conference final, but faltered against Louisville. That was the most heartbreaking of the bunch for the Pittsburgh Riverhounds. They were leading 2-0. In that game, Louisville scored in the 83rd and the 85th, and then won it in penalties. And it's the closest the Riverhounds have come to a conference final. Mertz looking back for Etu, brought down inside or outside the area. Doesn't matter. Natalie Simon sees no foul, waves play on. Had she seen a foul, it would have been interesting to distinguish whether that was in or outside the box. Remember, VAR not part of the equation here.
Junior Edzo is just so important when the Riverhounds do go forward because he gives you that quality, but he also gives you the verticality as there is a little bit of contact, not much in that whatsoever. Yamazaki does a good job at not extending his right arm. It's a good no call by Natalie Simon. Junior Edzo is looking for it.
Not only not much in that, but that replay showed us the contact was outside. Anyway, very experienced referee Natalie Simon. She's a FIFA licensed referee. Highest order you can be.
Again, Luke Biasi being really aggressive and applying a lot of contact. West Virginia when he is checking back and trying to pick up the ball.
Floating this one in beyond for Augie Williams, who was quiet last week in that 0-0 draw before winning in penalties in the first corner of the evening coming for Pittsburgh. Corners brought to you by Cohen Markets. Not very effective off their corners last week. That was more a testament to Hartford and the aerial prowess that Hartford brought to the table with them. A lot of big guys in the box for Hartford. A little bit more evenly matched in the air tonight, these two sides. Steel Army ready to erupt beyond Carlos Saldana's goal. Mertz swings it in. Wheat dispatches. Mertz keeping it alive. Still Robbie Mertz. Can he make something of this?
Really well done there from Robbie Mertz to keep possession. Such a special player.
Full race won by Perrin Barnes. Every single one of those 50-50s in the midfield vital tonight for a Detroit City team especially that'll be sitting back looking to counter through Smith, through Diouf. Sample. Barnes. Slides it through, space for Mertz, looking for Williams, and cleared it by Shane Wheat. Watch the USL Championship Final Saturday, November 22nd on CBS Television Network. The final two teams take the field at noon Eastern, with the winner taking home the 2025 championship title. Go to USLChampionship.com for all the latest playoff information.
Detroit City having a really difficult time just finding the spacing and balance between Ryan Williams and Jay Chapman. Once Jay Chapman picks up that ball, there's three Riverhound players surrounding him. You need more options. That's just Diouf needs to come to feet. Sedane needs to become a little bit more of a viable option. Midfield battles going in favor of the Riverhounds this far.
Had a decisive possession edge last week, Pittsburgh. As the game went on, Hartford bunkered in more and more. Pittsburgh had control, but really couldn't find a way through. In our conversation this week, Rob Vincent was happy with some of the looks they created in the second half of that game as they were flexing their possession muscles a bit, but feels they could be cleaner, feels they could be more dangerous here tonight. Idrach. There's Jay Chapman, vital to whatever they do in the midfield tonight, Detroit City, and on set pieces. LaFleur. Chapman at pivot point in the midfield. seen yet any meaningful possession in the attacking half from Detroit City. They're forced all the way back again. Momentum looking long. If they can unlock Darren Smith tonight, it's a matter of him finding net. It's very simple to say. It's not rocket science, but Danny Dicchio feels for a guy who had 10 goals this year, he probably left 10 on the table. That was an issue at times this year for Darren Smith, was consistently hitting target, consistently finishing his opportunities. On a night where opportunities may be few and far between, he has to capitalize if and when that moment comes.
His movement needs to be spectacular, Darren Smith, understanding when to run in behind, when to show defeat, because you look at the quality that he has when he is on the ball. Very clinical, very ruthless.
So is Augie Williams as he goes for goal, and it whistles wide.
Love the aggressive nature here from Augie Williams. Once this ball pops out, peek over his right shoulder, no one closes down the space, so why not call your own number? Takes that first touch right there, allows him just to step into it, and he hits this thing clean. It is moving, it is swirling away, not even a courtesy dive from Saldana.
If he's at the top of his game the way we know he can be, Augie Williams, that's the X factor for Pittsburgh
100%.
In the postseason. We know that Pittsburgh can slam the door shut on opposing teams. Coming into the night 302 minutes without conceding a goal. Just a matter of what they could do at the other end, because they themselves have been shut out each of their last 2 games as well.
Augie Williams is such a complete forward, especially in USL Championship, just the type of profile that he is. He has the legs for running behind, very comfortable at linking up play, but it's his timing when he arrives into the top of the 18-yard box. So instrumental how the Riverhounds like to go forward and also put service into the attacking 18-yard box.
Pittsburgh have not conceded since October 11th against Indy 11. They were up 2-0 in that game, conceded in the 88th minute. A 3-0 win over Monterey Bay, and then scoreless draws against Phoenix in the regular season finale. And last week, 120 minutes scoreless against Hartford. So they haven't conceded in almost a month. They haven't scored in 2.5 games running now. Wheat. Looping it in, punched away by Dick, ball still loose. The pressure from Juve, wins it, just scampers too far away, goal kick.
Really well done for Merrick Dick as a goalkeeper. You have to be decisive when you do step off of your line and command the 6-yard box. But we've talked about Darren Smith. Notice the spaces that he picks up right between Idrash and Suber. If he can play in the blind side, now getting him the ball is going to be important to giving him success going forward. It's a good heads-up play for Merrick Dick.
We're keeping an eye on North Carolina and Rhode Island as well. About to go to halftime, still scoreless there. So the winner of this gets the winner of that. Oh, and there is actually, as you see it, the halftime whistle. So to the break, 0-0 in Cary. Rhode Island looking to get back to the Eastern Conference Final. Last year winning the Eastern Conference in their inaugural season. Faltering at the finish line against Colorado Springs. Barnes.
Tough ball.
Falls now for Pittsburgh. Sample recovers, feeds it into space at 2. Sample. Augie Williams knocks it down. Detroit City working away through Cedeno. Turned right back into the pressure. Sample wins it back. Behind Mertz. Playing with fire right now, Detroit City. And again, lackadaisical by LaFleur. It stays in. Centered on Mumenta gets a piece of it. Asleep at the wheel defensively.
With the amount of pressure that you are under, if you are Detroit City, there's nothing wrong with playing Route 1 and relieving some of the pressure. Gaining some real estate high up the field, because the Riverhounds are doing a fantastic job repressing and squeezing this game and keeping it in their final third of play.
Chapman Williams has really been that unsung hero for Detroit City. And Ezekiel heaped some praise on him this week, Ryan Williams. Talk about Pittsburgh and some of their goal-scoring issues, having been shut out themselves the last couple of games. It's really been all or nothing for Detroit City at times this year. Go back to September 6th. They scored 4 in a win over Orange County. In the 8 games since then, they've scored 5. So 4 in that one game, 5 in the 8 games since then. They've found a way to turn out results, including last week's 1-0 over Louisville. Select is proud to be the official match ball supplier of the USL Championship. From the academy to the big leagues, Select is there every step of the way. Visit us.select-sport.com for the latest product specials and more. Select, the player's choice.
With both teams playing with wingbacks, Danny Dicchio wants LaFleur and Yamazaki to be really aggressive and almost staying on that top line. What they'll do, that will pin back the Riverhounds, which will allow Ryan Williams, Jay Chapman, and Cedeno more time and space centrally. Dangerous set piece here for Williams.
Williams with backspin. Dick tracking it and gathers it. He didn't have to do much last week, Eric Dick, but he made that key save in the shootout. Pittsburgh rattled off 4 conversions from that point on.
And just notice out of possession, Detroit sitting into a 4-4-2 formation. So centrally, the Riverhounds have a numerical advantage. That is when you need Robbie Mertz and Charles Ault to stay in that half pocket of space, because that is when you can bait out one of the 2 center backs of Detroit City and then play in Augie Williams.
Griffin. Robbie Mertz can't handle it. Edrach touches it along. Mertz thought about switching for Etu. He's kept on this side for Perrin Barnes. Charles all brought down. Cleanly so.
Again, just no options for Detroit City. Darren Smith is about 15 yards away from your defending goal. That is your number 9. That is your striker. He needs to be more disciplined at staying high and occupying the back line of the Riverhounds.
The number that sticks out right now is Detroit City's actually winning the possession battle, 53-47. But it's been empty possession in the midfield and on their own defensive end, trying to solve this Pittsburgh equation, because they themselves only have 9 final third entries compared to 21 of Pittsburgh. So Pittsburgh with nearly triple the final third entries with less of the possession.
All of the possession for Detroit City has been within 30 yards. They're defending goal in areas just like this. But if you can have the ability to bypass that initial line of pressure, now there's a lot of green grass that Darren Smith and Atas Diouf can run into.
Etu. Sample. Pedro Edrach. One of the 2 rookies that has anchored this back line either side of Sean Suber all season. The other being Guillaume Vactor, who again is out injured tonight. That's why Luke Biasi steps in as the left center back. Barnes looking for it after he got ahead to it. It'll be a throw for Pittsburgh. They showed a couple times last week a willingness to utilize that long throw and look for the flick on.
Not the initial ball coming in. It's a secondary action that can really cause some concern. So staying tuned in mentally, really important in situations like this.
Give it a week. That'll come down with snow on it next time. I mean that. There's supposed to be snow in this region this coming week. Cleveland, Detroit, Chicago, Pittsburgh.
Not a fan.
Welcome to November in the
Not
Midwest.
a fan.
A Pittsburgh Classic meets Oktoberfest. Indians won't be disappointed. Grab our loaded pierogies. Get your hands on these delicious Oktoberfest specials today.
So much of Pittsburgh's happenings flow through Suber. Pushes it up to Sample and now wide to Mertz. Suber, their center back, leads in passes this season. Etu tries to force his way through. Williams.
Good work from Jay Chapman. Had himself a good game through 30 minutes here. Digging down deep, doing the dirty side of the ball, clogging passing lanes. Positioning has been fantastic.
One quickly, Pittsburgh. Biasi. Free kick coming for the Riverhounds. They're starting to get frustrated that a car hasn't been shown yet to Detroit City, as all was brought down that time.
Talked about centrally. If you can get Danny Griffin, Robbie Mertz, and Charles All a little bit higher up the field, now you have a numerical advantage. Shane Wheat, that is one of the three center backs saying like for like with Charles All. So that means that Ryan Williams is already backtracking a bit late in terms of that challenge. But those are the areas that you need Robbie Mertz and Charles All to operate in those half spaces between the lines of Detroit.
Half an hour gone here at Highmark Stadium. Happy to have you with us on ESPN Plus with MLS veteran Ricky Lopez-Espin. I'm Joe Malfa. Scoreless still between Pittsburgh and Detroit City in the Eastern Conference semifinal. Bryant flicks it all the way back now to Saldana. Won't go down as a save, but counts all the same, making sure that he settles things down. It's a round later than when these teams met 2 years ago. Detroit City have actually just essentially flip-flopped their pathway. 2 years ago, they beat Pittsburgh in the opening round and then lost to Lou City 4-0 in the Eastern Conference semifinal. They reversed the opponents this time, and they're hoping to reverse the result as well, as Diouf tries to tunnel away through. All brought down again. This time, Amu Mensah felt a bit more cynical this time, trying to stop a transitional moment. There'll be leeway, though, it seems, for the captain.
Very quiet. Thought the early parts of this game out to see if looking for a foul here. Nothing in that whatsoever. Really well done from Midrash. Just to double down. But I'll tell you what, Amu Mensah is very lucky not to see yellow here. Soft or not, it's a foul. It's a denial of a transitional moment. If I am a Pittsburgh Riverhounds player, I'm in the ear of Natalie Simon saying that the captain for Detroit City should be in the book.
Scored that game-winning goal last week as well. You can watch the USL Championship in Spanish on TUDN, the nation's leading Spanish-language sports network. Championship final will also be available in Spanish along with select matches in 2026. Go to USLChampionship.com for the complete USL TV listings. A lot of those listings will be in 26. We are running out of runway in 2025. There's a possibility, I believe, that all four matchups here tonight could be simultaneous. There will be an overlap, or a chance for an overlap of all of them. And, of course, the two conference finals next week and the final on the 22nd. The last kickoff is New Mexico hosting Orange County at 9 Eastern. That is 50 minutes from now. North Carolina, Rhode Island have yet to begin their second half, so we should have all four games going on at the same time. Maybe not for long, depending on when that North Carolina-Rhode Island game ends. If it ends in 90, it only might be a 5-minute or so overlap of the 4 games, but we can dream. Have your multiple screens and your quad boxes ready. Tulsa and Phoenix have actually just kicked off. And New Mexico, Orange County, about an hour from now.
See Tulsa, Phoenix rising. What an intriguing matchup that's going to be. Two teams extremely physical. The one that I know you and I are really excited about in terms of the technical quality, the tactical prowess between New Mexico and Orange County. Two teams that are extremely clean in possession, that want to play, that want to have the ball on the ground. Two very different games in the Western Conference.
That is the technical game of the week in New Mexico, Orange County. In terms of the action and the activity, it might be that Tulsa-Phoenix game on the smaller dimensions on Tulsa's home stadium. Last week's game was case in point when Tulsa beat Colorado Springs 1-0 in extra time. That game felt like a 5-5 game, not a 0-0 game after 90 minutes. Tulsa-Phoenix is similar to this one. Teams that met 3 times in the regular season combined between their 2 regular season matchups and the Jägermeister Cup meeting. So, could see that play out again with teams who are sick of each other, as we've seen in the first half here with these teams being physical. That'll go Detroit City's way. I believe for a foul against Augie Williams as he lunged in late on Amu Mensah.
Great work from Devin Amu-Mensah. Notice how he just reads a run of Augie Williams, and he does get there first. As he just pokes the ball away, the follow through from Augie Williams is what gets him in trouble. There is contact. And again, initially, and you looked at each other, and as we have the luxury of replay here, really good call from Natalie Simon.
Again, Natalie Simon, a very experienced referee. You see the patch on her chest, a FIFA referee. Highest order that we usually see around these parts. Beyond just a pro referee or a U.S. soccer referee, an officially licensed FIFA referee. Well respected, and has been on top of it so far through 35 minutes. You could argue, as you mentioned a few minutes ago, yellow could have been shown to Amu Mensah, but I think, you tell me if I'm wrong as a former player, I think players prefer not seeing it.
100%.
If you're going to err on one of those two sides, you'd rather shy away from the cards than be card happy.
But now you ask for consistency, right? That is the argument that every single player is going to have in this match, saying if Devin Amu-Mensah does not see yellow, you're not going to give a yellow for a similar challenge in that second half. And that was a perfect picture of Augie Williams and Devin Amu-Mensah jawing at each other. Something to keep an eye out on.
The second half did just get underway between North Carolina and Rhode Island. We'll keep you abreast of all that's going on over there as the winner of that meets the winner of this in next week's conference final. It was another interesting one of contrasting styles, the way Rhode Island likes to bully teams and bullied Charleston last week. Bullied their way to a final last year. North Carolina, a bit of a younger team, more finesse team. Obviously, haven't taken in the first 45 minutes of that one as we're pretty occupied here. Curious if it's taken on that type of identity over there as well.
Just looking at the stats of that game, Rhode Island 54% possession, leading in shots. North Carolina shots on target 2-1. Seems like it'd be an even match, reflective of the scoreline.
Say in front of you fouls or no? It does. 14 combined fouls between the teams. So yeah, expected physical between those sides. Under 10 to go here in our first half. Wheat looking long. Smith seemed to have a beat on it, but it's there for Dick, who has not seen a shot yet in this one.
If you can recognize that space earlier for Detroit City, that is when you allow Darren Smith to run in to that green grass in front. Because we're seeing the Riverhounds step high, being really aggressive at trying to win the ball back as quickly as they can. If you can bait them out and then go over the top, that'll be your best bet to get Darren Smith involved.
Suber. League leader in clearances, team leader for Pittsburgh in passes. Unsung hero. If I had a vote, which I don't, he'd be a first-team All-League center back. He's been that important this year for the Riverhounds.
Iron Man this year.
Iron Man as well.
Every single minute of every single game. Exactly what you need from that position. There's center back Sean Suber.
And of course, the first time that he's really in the spotlight is when he makes the winning penalty last week. You strikers get all the attention. Never about the center backs. By the way, the only other player to play every minute, another center back in Elias Gartig. Barnes. Back and through. Barnes will keep it in at the end line with the service for Williams. Amumensa gets there first. And the volley, Griffin was lining it up, but it never fell to him. As Ryan Williams just nudged it away. And it's all the way back to Dick. This is a narrower field by a few yards than you typically see. That's why the middle is so clogged at all times. That battle has been so important so far tonight. LaFleur. Again, Isaiah LaFleur.
Just look at the commitment off the ball for the Riverhounds. August Williams, about 20 yards from his defensive goal. Every single player bought in to drop down and defend.
Diouf, capable of the spectacular individually. Diouf slipped. Otherwise, he had an open pass, it seemed like, at the end line. LaFleur. Cedeno. Augie Williams giving Amumensa all he could handle. It's back to Saldana.
It's really well done from Devin Amumensa. Trying to squeeze the game. Michael Bryant, Shane Wheat. All three center backs very comfortable on the ball, but also their positioning to try to negate any transitional moments on display there.
This game has been as tight as the games were last week. My favorite stat from last week, there were 8 games played. All 8 winners had a clean sheet, but there were actually 11 clean sheets. 3 of the losers also had clean sheets before they then lost in penalties. So 8 games, 11 clean sheets. Goals very much at a premium.
Good feed.
And first corner coming for Detroit City.
Very similar to what we've seen from Detroit City through the first 41 minutes that we saw at Lid Family Stadium. Defend, suffer together, and win a dangerous set piece here. Good work from Yamazaki. You're looking for quality in terms of the service to let your big center backs get on the end of it.
Could it be copy and paste from last week? It was around this same juncture of the match that they smashed and grabbed and scored off the corner and rode that 1-0 to the finish line, downing Lou City. 41st, well, by the time it's taken, 42nd minute at Highmark Stadium. Only difference is last week it was Jay Chapman delivering. This time it's Ryan Williams floating it up. Shout for a handball as Amumensa tried flicking it toward goal. They could be caught out here. We're waiting wisely for the offside flag there. Aaron Barnes, and it comes up on Ates Diouf.
And Williams has his eyes set on Devin Amumensa, who's making this run towards that far post and just looking for this ball back across. In the end, really well done by the Riverhounds. Nothing in that whatsoever.
Kept alive here by Charles Hall, looking back across. Augie Williams had it blocked. Comes out to Barnes. Amumensa can't get there. Diving header away, out for a corner. Augie Williams was lurking. Shane Wheat gets it out of dodge. Corner coming for the Riverhounds.
Fantastic recognition from all as Augie Williams challenged for the initial one. He needs to be vertical, but you need to pull a trigger there. As you cut it back across, you allow LaFleur to make himself big, but just notice a recognition, the last-ditch defending effort from Wheat at that far post. If not, Augie Williams is by himself at the second stick.
Cohen Markets corner kick. Mertz didn't like his run-up. He'll reposition and go again. Meanwhile, Natalie Simon bringing the best of friends, Amu Mensah and Augie Williams together. They've been locking horns quite a bit in this first half. Mertz. He similarly struggled on corners last week against Hartford Athletic. Ended up in double figures for corners last week, and it still never really amounted to anything. Edrach switching. Mertz cuts it off before Biasi. Mertz had it blocked.
I looked over in the view field.
As Diouf shields it away from Perrin Barnes. Chapman. Jay Chapman, a player whose experience you rely on a night like this. He won MLS Cup and Supporter Shield with Toronto FC back in 2017. Capped for the Canadian national team. 31-year-old experienced midfielder. Junior at 2. Swinging it through, bouncing in front of Sample. Saldana gets there first.
Well done from Robbie Mertz, just taking a different angle as he provides a width that opens up the run from Bradley Sample, and he goes unmarked. If that ball is a little bit lighter, he gets on the end of it. Good recognition from Saldana to come off of his line and make himself big. But those are the types of movements that Danny Dico mentioned on our phone call, saying the runs out of midfield we need to be aware of.
Ladies and gentlemen, there will be 3 minutes.
3 minutes of first half stoppage time. Mostly due to Jesse El Cedeño's injury early in this half. Has, of course, since carried on without any issue, thankfully. Williams brings it down. Pirouettes through the traffic, still with it somehow. Now it's Smith. Ricochets to Robbie Mertz. Heavy touch. It's Wheat who closed down quickly. Now at 2.
Good turn.
Charles all into space. Last touch too heavy. Amu Mensah cleans it up.
Need to be really careful if you are Jay Chapman. You cannot get beat that easily. Thankfully, Devin Amu Mensah is there to step in. Really well done in terms of the timing from the center back.
Charles All in that central location. That's one of the little nuanced differences in this Rob Vincent system versus Bob Lilly. Long throw headed away by Amu Mensah. Bob Lilly essentially had a rule of thumb where if one wingback goes, the other wingback stays. Rob Vincent wants both wingbacks to go and Bradley Sample to stay in the middle. That keeps Charles All central in that 10 position. It's where he's best, and Jay Chapman learned that the hard way there.
Just so quick off the turn, Charles All is, but also gives you legs, the ability to run in beyond Augie Williams. So there's a really good balance within that front three between Robbie Mertz, Augie Williams, and Charles on the way if they attack in the spaces that they pick up. Perfect example here. That run right underneath Williams here.
Here he is, all out wide. Too much on it. Goal kick. Final minute of stoppage time in this first half. Two teams that might be pretty indifferent to the way this first half has gone. Neither has been spectacular. Neither's done anything wrong. Here we are, locked at zeros.
Through the performance, if you are Rob Vincent, you're probably the happier of the two managers. You've been on the ball a little bit more threatening of the opposing goal. But you look at the scoreline, Danny Dico's going to take this every single day of the week. 0-0 here at Highmark Stadium. Haven't really conceded any clear-cut goal-scoring opportunities through your back end. That's exactly what we expected, Joe. This game was going to be cagey. This game was going to be played centrally and stop-and-start nature.
I can't definitively say that Danny Dico wouldn't take 0-0 through 120 if you asked him. He'd rather steal a goal like they did last week on a set piece, and that's how this first half is going to end, with a set piece in the attacking half field for Detroit City. Changes everything if they can find a way. From this distance, from this angle, though, it won't be easy. It'll take a brilliant service from Ryan Williams. Hangs up there, Dick gathers, and that should do it for this first half. There's a whistle from Natalie Simon, 0-0 into the break.
Just too much air under that from Ryan Williams. Eric Dick's going to win that ball every single day of the week. Exactly what we talked about. Danny Dico has to be pleased. Defensively, you're in really stout. Haven't really got anything going forward. So a set piece can be the difference maker in that second 45 minutes. But for Rob Vincent, you've seen the ball. You've been more threatening. Now you need to create more goal-scoring opportunities. Robbie Mertz, Augie Williams are the players that can produce that magic.
We knew it was going to be tight tonight. These teams met 3 times in the regular season. A win each and a draw mixed in there. Nothing separating them through 45 minutes. Our halftime score brought to you by 84 Lumber is 0-0 between the Pittsburgh Riverhounds and Detroit City FC in the Eastern Conference semifinal.
The build. What is it that drives us to follow our dreams, to build them from scratch, from the heart? For us, it's the same ideals of hard work, craftsmanship, and unity that define our great nation. It begins with trusting in yourself and having a team behind you that believes any dream is possible, and that every project is a vision of what can be, of who you are, and the future that you continue to build. From our family to yours, 84 Lumber, where quality and pride come together, one dream at a time.
Search is over. The content you seek and crave is now all in one place. SportsNetPittsburgh.com. An all-new digital experience featuring news and exclusive content. Get the latest coverage on all Pittsburgh sports teams. Plus, stream live games through S&P 360 and so much more. SportsNetPittsburgh.com is the one-stop shop for the best in Pittsburgh sports. On your screen and in the palm of your hand. Check out SportsNetPittsburgh.com today. The road to Puck Drop begins on Penguins Tonight. A first look at the latest game news, stories from around the league, and so much more. Penguins Tonight, 1 hour before every game on Sportsnet Pittsburgh. Presented by Morgan & Morgan.
At the break between Pittsburgh and Detroit City, Almo's having a good time. It's scoreless, though, between these two sides. Very cagey affair in the first half of action. Pittsburgh's player pathway has been the focus this season, seeing a number of players come through that system. Let's learn a bit more about Ben Martino.
I'm Ben Martino and play for the Pittsburgh Riverhounds. I did only the goalkeeper academy for a year in 2014, and then I officially joined the actual academy in 2015. At that age, you know, it was more about just falling in love with soccer, and a couple years of that transitioned into, you know, I was starting to become a lot better goalkeeper.
Benny was very consistent. Things that he needed to improve on, he would stay, do the extra work, but he was always mentally and physically prepared for anything that was kind of thrown in his direction.
You know, he came through our system, and that's what we want to continue to have. It just shows that we're doing the right things in our academy if all of a sudden now we have these kids training with the first team and then eventually signing with the first team. It just means that we're putting the work in at the lower levels. It gives the younger goalkeepers that are in our academy something to get, okay, they are looking in our academy. It's not like they're always going outside of the academy.
Maybe halfway, you know, towards the end of my time at the academy, I was being recruited by a lot of schools, and obviously that was a really big thing that RDA helped me with, was, you know, facilitating those connections with those schools, and they help you, you know, contact schools, write emails to schools, you know, help you get into ID camps, you know. They help me be very proactive with the whole college process, especially like even from the start of my freshman year.
You know, there's no magic formula for the pros. They do the same thing that the academy goalkeepers do. They just do it at a higher tempo and a more consistent tempo. So, you know, Benny is great with taking Ryan under his wing, putting his arm around him, talking to him about little things, you know, whether it's in the middle of a drill or whether it's just when they're having water, right? So it's one thing when I'm talking to Ryan or Dylan, but it's a whole nother thing also when the pros are taking that time, you know, makes Ryan feel even more invested by it, you know, into the system. And so if we can all just help each other out, then, you know, it's going to make for a great environment from top to bottom in the whole goalkeeping department.
If you're in the right environment and you're willing to give it your all and give it your best day in and day out, your dreams and your goals, anything is possible. And Benny, you know, he sets that. He proves that and validates that anything is possible as long as you're willing to put that work in.
This week on USL All Access, what do you get when you take desire, talent, belief, mix it all together, then set it ablaze? You get the craziest round we've ever seen in the history of USL Championship playoffs.
Rhode Island conquered Charleston in their own backyard. A 7-2 offset.
Plus, departures in Colorado Springs, dismissals in El Paso, and conference semifinal previews.
Whoa! Termites can eat a pound of wood a day. 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 What's wrong, Daddy? Daddy? You okay?
Keep termites out of your home and your head with our premium guarantee that covers up to $250,000 in new termite damage. Before panic shows up, Terminix it.
Tell them that's like it. A pivotal victory. And they book a one-way ticket for the conference semifinals.
Final whistle goes.
It's over. Lightning strikes twice.
I didn't know that worms lived in turf pellets, but apparently they do. Whatever you do in life, do it with 50% the vigor of this gentleman, and you will be going places. It's scoreless at the break between Pittsburgh and Detroit City. That guy wants that to change in half number 2. He needs to be a one-man cheerleader for this Pittsburgh Riverhounds team. All right, we got to actually get serious here for a moment. Around the league, a lot going on right now, even though the season is coming to an end. Premier League executive joining the league. Tony Scholes will be the president of the new Division I Men's League. It's a great insight to the future of this league. And the future also murky for a couple of clubs. Not Jacksonville. They have their man. They have Liam Fox in charge. The rookie Colorado Springs, El Paso, and Oakland all will be searching for a new head man.
3 big-time jobs up for grabs in the Western Conference. The Oakland Roots really surprised that Benny Feilhaber did not get another season under his belt. The Switchbacks, it's an intense saying. We won the trophy last year. We did not do well enough that we thought. So we're going to move on from James Chambers and company.
Take a look at the out-of-town scores. The game's going on right now, and another game to join us in a little bit. The out-of-town scores, well, there are no scores. We're scoreless. Those 2 games are scoreless, and it's another illustration of how goals are at a premium in the playoffs, Ricky.
Very similar to what we saw last weekend in USL Championship. Teams are being very difficult to break through. Exactly what you would expect in a playoff situation. But now this is when the big-time players need to produce those little bit of individual brilliance and be those game changers that they're brought in to be.
Well, we'll see if anybody gets their kicks on Route 66 in a little while here at New Mexico and Orange County. Ricky, I think we're in agreement. This is going to be the most technically appealing game of the weekend.
No Chris Hagart for Orange County. That is going to be massive for Danny Stone and company.
We'll see what goes on there, but we're focused on what goes on here. Pittsburgh and Detroit City halfway through, still scoreless. Half number 2 into Steel City on the way.
Thank you so much for being here. We appreciate it. This is an exciting day for the South Shore. Please welcome the owner of the Pittsburgh Riverhounds, Tuffy Schellenberger.
Today, we are announcing and going to show you the plans of the expanding our new stadium from 5,000 to 15,000. I'd like to bring the players up here to unveil the renderings of the new stadium. And you know, you have to win in Pittsburgh. I don't care what you do. We're not going to quit till we win a championship, and then we're not going to quit after that.
The road to puck drop begins on Penguins Tonight. A first look at the latest game news, stories from around the league, and so much more. Penguins Tonight, 1 hour before every game on Sportsnet Pittsburgh. Presented by Morgan & Morgan. The search is over. The content you seek and crave is now all in one place. SportsNetPittsburgh.com. An all-new digital experience featuring news and exclusive content. Get the latest coverage on all Pittsburgh sports teams. Plus, stream live games through S&P 360 and so much more. SportsNetPittsburgh.com is the one-stop shop for the best in Pittsburgh sports. On your screen and in the palm of your hand. Check out SportsNetPittsburgh.com today.
pittsburghriders.org.
Dream at a time.
I don't know where Natalie Simon went at halftime, but we need an official on the field here for whatever's going on. Knocker ball at the break. It looks like it's still 0-0 in whatever this was, as it was in our first half here. As we take a look at the let him get up.
That's clean.
Oh my goodness.
Clean.
Well, the first half was clean as far as the goals scored. Take a look at the highlights now, brought to you by Corona. The best chances, though, Ricky, did belong to Pittsburgh.
Bradley Zampo, I thought, had a really strong first half for the Riverhounds. Willie comes centric, does a good job with his nice little feet here to put him out of his body. Saldana, easy save, had a massive save against Lou City. Picks up right where he left off between the sticks for Detroit City. And it was just a very cagey match that we expected coming in. Detroit City didn't really have anything going forward. This was a good opportunity. As they are patient, you put the ball in a dangerous area. Darren Smith gets in between both center backs, but every single ball that was pumped into a dangerous area in their attacking 18-yard box, Eric Dick did a phenomenal job at timing it and also commanding his box and being that big presence that we've come to expect for the Browns.
They officially ended up with 2 shots, 1 on target in that first half, Detroit City, but never really did feel like they actually threatened. Charles All here maybe had the best look for Pittsburgh.
Always active for the Riverhounds with his movement, his work rate, their ability to run in beyond. And as this ball comes in, I love the first time ball in from Barnes, but this is all about Shane Weed recognizing the danger of Augie Williams, because this ball is right over the head of Devin Almamensa, right there, top side of your screen. Last second comes across, and that is a last-ditch defending effort to keep this thing 0-0.
Well, we're halfway through 90. I can't necessarily say we're halfway through the game. That might come at the 60-minute mark. If last week especially was any indication for Pittsburgh, who went the distance scoreless against Hartford. And away we go in half number 2. Detroit City left to right in the white and green. Pittsburgh right to left in the black and yellow. Alongside Ricky Lopez-Espin, I'm Joe Malfa. Eastern Conference semifinal at Highmark Stadium. A rematch of 2 years ago when Detroit City came in and won it 1-0 on a late goal by Dominic Gasso. Look out here, given away. Curler, it's wide. First time hit from Charles All trying to catch Carlos Saldana off his line, and he left it wide.
The Riverhounds are finding success when Robbie Mertz peels wide, because that opens up the game centrally. Trying to win second ball is really unfortunate here for Ryan Williams, but I love this from Charles All. Gets his right body position, and all he's trying to do here is try to get it up and down and bend it around Saldana. Really good effort and really strong mentality from Charles All to start this second half for the Riverhounds.
Similar to last week, after Pittsburgh struggled really in the first half, out of the blocks, dangerous in the second half, and then the game settled down again. You wonder if that's something that Rob Vincent and crew talked about, starting the second half the same way as last week, except actually finishing off one of the chances. This goes, the more nervy it gets for the home supporters after seeing last week go the distance. You don't want to play with that sort of fire week in, week out. Looking for Williams, fronted by Almamensa. I do believe we had 6 river balls last week. Just to point out, we have not had one tonight yet.
Over under 3?
Oh, at this point, I would have to say under. Although we could have 45 plus 3 and have 75 minutes remaining, so maybe.
All 6 that went over last week, they're gone, or do you have someone out there?
I think it was 6. I hope to have somebody out there. Otherwise, I mean, I know Select is a terrific partner of the league, but you can only have so many balls ready. Robbie Mertz trying to deposit this select ball in the back of the net as he goes for a goal. And all it troubles is the fans up along the railing. But that's 2 good looks in 3 minutes now for Pittsburgh.
A little bit of a glimpse of how good Robbie Mertz is in 1v1 situations. First, it's Ryan Williams. Now it's Jay Chapman. Really sloppy, essentially, for Detroit City. But as Robbie Mertz approaches this ball, he's leaning back and almost stabs at it. And that's why he gets under it, and it goes up and over the crossbar.
That pressure coming in from Pittsburgh, and they win it again. Sample. Good step to win it back by Bryant. It looked like he took an awkward